Welcome back, everybody. It is Everything Phoenix. It is YouTube Live, and thank you for joining us today. Today's going to be a good one because it's discussing the ramifications or consequences, or what it means for Arizonans, especially Phoenicians here, given the recent result of the 2022 midterm elections, and more. Okay, and more. We're also going to be discussing a little bit of the housing market and who exactly is the Empire? Okay. For those of you Star Wars fans out there, you might enjoy this because in this episode, the Empire strikes back. All right, so stay tuned for that. So here we go, guys. We're going to jump in here. As you know, I like to share my screen and give you guys some data and some facts as to what is going on in our area of Phoenix, Arizona here, which is one of the best areas of the world. By the way, the weather outside, perfect. If you don't live in Arizona, or in Phoenix, I should say, this is a great time to be here. So maybe you want to consider that. The weather's perfect and there's a lot of things to do. You can be outside the entire day and it still gets a little chilly. So you can wear that jacket if you want. And it's just a beautiful time to be here, guys, between now and, April to May. So think about that. If you would like to, give us a call. Guys, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. One of the Cook and Associate realtors here in Scottsdale, Phoenix area. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, guys, and we're going to rock and roll. Here we go. We're going to dive right in. All right. So here's the latest on the major races in Arizona's 2022 general election. And we're going to break this down a little bit, okay, for what it may mean for you and to the housing market here in Phoenix. So if you go through here, everyone knows the governor race, right? And the Senate race. Those are kind of like the two big ones for any state, for that matter. And if you've been living under a rock, even if you live outside of the state, you probably know that, Maricopa County especially, we don't count votes very well, right? We just don't count votes very fast. Maybe you should put it that way. It's a better way to put it, potentially, depending on what side of the fence you are. By the way, this is not going to be a political video here. So if you're thinking like, oh boy, where's this guy going with this? Just stay with me. I'm going to stay high level and give you guys both sides of what is going on with the different candidates and so on and so forth, okay? So here we go. Governor Katie Hobbs on the Democrat side and Kari Lake on the Republican side. Right now, a lot of the major media outlets as of today, which is, the 17th of November, they are saying that Katie Hobbs most likely is going to win this, but Kari Lake has yet to succeed. So apparently there are still some more votes to count. So we'll see what happens there. But let's jump into that because that's arguably the most important one for the state of Arizona in terms of affecting the people who live here or own real estate here, housing, have kids, families, go to schools, all that fun stuff, public services. So let's jump into that real quick, guys. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you both sides of the candidate side, okay? So you kind of know what that means. We're going to focus first on housing, okay? And their plan for that to an extent. They have plans. And the economy second, okay? So let's jump over here, and I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to go into Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs here on the plan that she has as governor that she says she will do for housing. So here's kind of what she says, and we'll hit the highlights. We're not going to read this whole thing. You guys might get bored to death, right? But for housing, the big thing that both candidates are talking about is the homelessness population and how it is continuing to grow in Arizona, as with many other states, of course. So what is she going to do to help that situation, as well as just make housing overall more affordable? Okay. So that being said, here's some bullet points that she said in her plan for housing. She wants to empower local communities to build more affordable housing. Now, what exactly that means? There is some more detail on that. Cut needless bureaucracy and unleash American innovation. Protect Arizonans and address the core reason for rising housing costs. Fix the homelessness crisis in a comprehensive manner. Lower costs for renters and homeowners. All right, so let's go down a little bit further here. She talks about empowering local communities to build more affordable housing. I don't know exactly what that means, but municipalities or local cities here must be able to craft incentives to make the most sense based on their unique needs. Okay, so she's going to work with local governments in these cities apparently to, spur credits or something to maybe have people build homes that are smaller, or townhomes or apartments that are smaller, so that people can actually afford those as opposed to maybe upper middle class homes in a subdivision. I don't know. She'll work to expand existing down payment assistance programs and bonds. Guys, there's two sides of that coin, right? That could be good. That could also be bad if people are starting to, just sit back and rely on certain things like that. Hopefully, that's not the case. I know the intention is to obviously help people who are trying to help themselves, but obviously, as with anything, sometimes that isn't always the case. There you go. Okay, so pilot program for construction of new affordable housing permanent. So obviously, she's going to have some sort of private funding on affordable housing projects, and extend program and expand the state's investment to expedite construction of those type of homes. How that's going to happen, I don't know, guys. Now, here's an interesting thing. Okay. Apparently, there's a bipartisan bill in Arizona here to establish affordable housing tax credit pilot program, which requires developers to include affordable housing in their development plans to get the credit. Now, as we know, tax credits are very persuasive, right? The person who might go out there, or the company might go out there and buy that plot of land to build these houses, if they can get a big tax credit off the income profits they'll make, that will spur activity, guys. That's what the U.S. government does from a federal standpoint to get what they want. They give incentives and credits, right, to taxpayers, people like you and me, to reward certain behavior and spur certain behavior. Obviously, that's what she's trying to do here. I don't know to what extent or how effective that will be, but that's the intent. Encouraging zoning changes to facilitate building more affordable housing. Okay, so zoning changes for that. So I don't know if that means more apartments, but permitting higher density residential products in or near commercial and mixed use zones. So it will obviously include some of that. And then getting rid of needless bureaucracy and unleashing American innovation. Okay, I don't think anybody's for that headline, or anybody's against that headline, right? American innovation is what we need in pretty much every sector of our economy. Then she goes in here, the housing crisis through innovation. It's just, I don't know, Habitat for Humanity. I don't know, guys, but protecting Arizonans here. This one's interesting. Okay, so listen up here. This one, okay. Arizona is home to 3 of the 10 cities in America where the rent has increased the most. Okay, and then blah blah blah. So Katie will work to reform Arizona's lack of eviction protections for hardworking families, including starting a pilot program to provide low and middle income Arizonans with legal aid during the eviction process. This has been shown to reduce eviction rates and extend the amount of time necessary between a late payment and the start of the eviction process, which in Arizona is only 5 days. Okay. Now, if you are an investor reading that, you start to sweat a little bit because what that's officially saying is that, to an extent, right? I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it's saying that they're going to help people stay in their houses longer, even if they haven't paid rent. Now, what I love about this is it says hardworking families to protect them. Well, how do you define a hardworking family? You can't. You just can't, right? Is that someone who works 40 hours a week, 42 hours a week, 90 hours a week? I don't know. Obviously for a landlord, it is nice if someone is not paying rent. It is nice to have that ability to get them out hopefully fairly quick, so that when you have your mortgage payment to pay, you won't have too many months go by with having, your mortgage on the hook, but yet you're not receiving any income on that rental. Now, I will tell you, in Arizona, currently the landlord tenant laws are very landlord friendly. Okay. So you can have someone out if you're Johnny on the spot and you have your everything lined up, your T's crossed, I's dotted, you can have someone potentially out of your house that's not paying rent in about 3 to 4 weeks. That's actually kind of good, because then I think it spurs investment activity through investors, because they're not worried about someone squatting in there for a long period of time. I hope, because I'm an investor too, guys, I'm a landlord as well. At the same time, I definitely do have empathy, because not everyone has rainbows and sunshine in their lives, right? So I get that. So it's a hard, tricky balance, guys, and thus that's the world of politics, right? Andrew made a comment here. Hey, Andrew, how you doing? Absurd to find a hardworking family, LOL. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it. How do you do that? I have no idea. And then he also said something here too. Thanks for the comments here, guys. I appreciate you. Let me know where you are, where you're from, where you're listening from, and any questions you have. Let's talk about. Let's get a conversation going on this YouTube live, right? All right, landlord laws in Arizona are great. I concur. They are. And I guess if you don't own an investment property, you may not know or may not care. But certainly if you do, you want the ability to be able to get somebody out who may not be able to pay. And, currently there are programs out there with many of the cities and municipalities where if you truly are having a hardship, like you're hardworking, you go to work, right? And you are working, but maybe your income's down or you get laid off or whatever, right? You have the ability to get funds because, guys, one of my tenants was doing just that. He is a general contractor. Some of his jobs got canceled or got extended out for supply chain management and logistics issues. And make a long story short, he didn't have enough money to cover rent. Well, he applied for the city of X. I won't say which one it is, but he applied for a city local here in Phoenix, one of the suburbs, and he received assistance. And so he's able to then get money to pay his rent that he was late on, as well as the next month as well, to get him back on his feet. So there are assistance programs out there for people who truly are, doing their best and just having a temporary issue, of some sort. All right, we got Abby from Des Moines, Iowa. What's going on? And we have Aaron or Andrew here. What do you got here, Andrew? Some more good stuff. We want the landlord laws to stay the same. It helps investors push more capital into Arizona. There is no doubt about that, Andrew. No doubt about that, right? And because transaction count is lower right now because the market obviously is down, obviously there's a lot of benefit that comes from transactions happening in the real estate market, whether they're investors or just buyers and sellers. There's so many different roles and jobs and professions that get money off of this, right? From plumbers to roofers. I mean, you name it, right? Title companies, lenders and attorneys and all kinds of stuff. And obviously, if there's not very many transactions happening, then some of those industry segments start to suffer as well, not just realtors. So that being said, we do like our investors because we want them to come in and invest. And guys, here's the deal. At the end of the day, there is a segment of the population that never will and they never want to own a house. Now, maybe that's good. They're a specific situation. Maybe they're a traveling nurse. Maybe they, do some sort of contract work where they bounce from city to city, or maybe they just want the flexibility and they never ever want to buy a house. That is their choice. Welcome to America, right? It's their choice, which is great. But because the U.S. government knows that's the case, there's tax incentives through depreciation and write-offs and all kinds of fun stuff that would be a whole nother YouTube live for us, right? To incentivize people to be investors because they know there's a big segment of the population in America that just never will own a home. And so they need housing. And government also knows that private individuals and companies can do a better job, more efficient job. So they, instead of them trying to undertake that huge thing themselves, they go ahead and offer tax incentives. So there you go. Little sidebar. Okay, so going down here, the list here. So you get an idea of Katie Hobbs' plan. In the interest of time, let's move over now to Kari Lake's. Okay, so Kari Lake, her official policy for the housing and tackling housing market and tackling the homelessness issue. Okay, so there's a lot more words here, and it's a little bit longer with Kari Lake's issue. Obviously, the problem is homelessness in this situation and lack of affordable housing. What she talks about is in here, just summarize it. I read this whole thing, I read both of theirs, their whole thing. And what she talks about, guys, is the ability for someone is to have services available, right? Mental health, immediate service, where someone needs food and water and shelter, and to do that and have those places available at the same time, to get the word out and make sure those homeless people, know that's available and they need to then come in and take advantage of the services. Yet at the same time, she says there are some people who never will, and they won't, and they'll choose to actually stay on the homelessness side to an extent, usually because of drug addiction or whatever it may be. And those are the types of issues that she's trying to obviously or wants to solve to make sure that Arizonans at the end of the day are still safe, right? Hey, Lori made a comment here. Here she go. We'd love to hear more about how to buy. Oh, okay. Well, enunciation. I don't know how to answer that question, Lori. Let me give me some more details on that, and we'll address it. All right. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep rocking and rolling here with Kari. So you have the stats on homelessness she gives, and at the end of the day, she has a conclusion, okay, or solution, where she says that they need to have we can and must have compassion for homeless population. We must have compassion for citizens impacted by the societal impacts of chronic street homelessness as well. So she's also trying to say that there needs to be both sides of that happening, not just obviously all on one side or the other, right? So she wants to do, as her solution, expand temporary shelter facilities, invest in long-term facilities, leading with services, ban urban camping statewide, enhanced enforcement of quality of life of issues, arrest and offer treatment. Treatment programs will follow a certain pathway or pathways. And there's a lot right there, right? I mean, there's a lot that these two candidates put out there for consumers, for voters to read, to know who they want to vote for. Okay. Now let's go over to the economy. Okay. We're going to jump back over to Katie Hobbs. The economy. Here's her Affordable Arizona, her economic plan. Okay. So it's actually not as long as the housing part. Same with Kari Lake. So don't leave me yet, guys. This is kind of interesting. Okay. Because it's going to affect the Phoenicians, right? It's going to affect the citizens of Arizona, no matter who's in there, right? So what she says is, here's how we're going to start. We will lower costs for families with children, okay, by establishing a state-level child tax credit, okay, which is, she says, has been shown to reduce poverty. And the second thing is we will help Arizonans get back to work in good-paying jobs by creating a refundable tax credit for career and technical education opportunities. And by permanently expanding child care assistance, we can reduce some of the barriers to work, okay? And then finally, we will protect the health and wealth of Arizona families, okay, by exempting over-the-counter medicines and feminine hygiene products from sales tax. So she's saying that because women have to pay sales tax on feminine hygiene products, she wants to make those products actually tax-free to make them equal. It's a bigger burden, right, from a tax standpoint, more money that a woman has to pay than a man, is what she's saying. So she wants to eliminate the tax on those things. And then she goes into more detail on all these, right? So we won't go through all this stuff, but you guys definitely can check it out for yourself. I just want to hit the highlights for you on this YouTube live here. But, we just hit the tax credit to make the baby diapers and baby formula tax-free, as well as, feminine products, ensuring kids have critical school supplies. That's everyone's for that. I would assume that's a good thing. Strengthen training for good paying jobs, help Arizonans get back to work. But here's the deal. The good news is that unemployment rate is actually really low. In fact, Arizona is below the national unemployment rate currently. So, in fact, there's now hiring signs pretty much everywhere in Phoenix. Soon to be probably phasing out a little bit because of the empire that we're going to talk about in just a second. But protecting the health and well-being of Arizona families, that's obviously very important. But again, exempt over-the-counter medicines from sales and use of sales tax. Okay. And here's the unfair tax on women, which is the products we're talking about. Okay, so that's Katie Hobbs. Let's go to Kari Lake. Economic plan. Here we go. Tax relief on rent and groceries. So what she's saying is right now, because of the inflation, she's saying that she would eliminate all taxes on groceries and rent in the state of Arizona, putting almost $500 million back in the pockets of Arizona families. So if you're not aware, in Arizona, when you do go to rent a house, excuse me, I'm sure it's like this in most states, but maybe not. I don't know. Not expert on other states, that's for sure. But she's saying that right now, when you go to rent a house, you have to pay a tax. So if your rent is $2,000 a month, you actually don't pay $2,000. You pay $2,000 plus that the city sales tax on top of it, which usually runs between 1.8 and 2.3% of your monthly rent. So she's saying that would eliminate that, as well as no taxes on groceries. That's kind of cool. Kind of give some relief on the inflation side. Boosting Arizona's economy and creating jobs. Okay, so her deal would be to cut taxes every year in office, starting with sales taxes and then property taxes. To get there, she plans to identify and roll back any cumbersome and unnecessary regulations that get in the way of Arizona's appeal to attract new businesses and jobs, which, by the way, Arizona's done a really good job of up until this point, for sure. Again, you guys heard me say this before. I'll say it again. According to the Greater Economic Council, there is, in Phoenix here, there is over 50 plus companies looking internationally, okay, alone, let alone domestically, looking to move a portion of their company and or their headquarters to the Greater Phoenix area, which is just outstanding, guys. And a lot of these are high-paying tech jobs and things of that nature, healthcare. So really good stuff in the future here for Phoenix from a job, economic, employment standpoint. Okay. And then she says here, she's proposed a game-changing dual-track education plan that will allow Arizona students to go straight from high school into skilled, high-paying, rewarding careers. There's no secret, guys, that especially in Arizona, the trades, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing, there's a shortage. There's a shortage, yet those positions pay out actually very well. And you don't need a college degree, a 4-year university degree. You could go to a trade school or maybe do a course somewhere and get that skill that you need to do that job, which is in high demand. So there you go. That's the economic plan for both candidates. So right now, we'll see what happens in terms of who wins. But right now, according to the media, Katie Hobbs is in the driver's seat. If you go to, and here it is, right? Here's, she's projected to be the next governor. And then, of course, right now they're saying it's a 50.4 to 49.6 lead. This is as of, I think, this morning. So there you go, or maybe yesterday. All right. So then we jump over here to, let's go back here real quick, guys. I want to show you this. Okay. So the next one is U.S. Senate. Okay. Mark Kelly's going to win that. He's the Democratic incumbent. He was there for a year or two prior to this, 2 years actually. So he's going to win that one, and then Secretary of State, Attorney General, and then it goes down to not as popular races, I guess, right? So you can see right here, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes is Democrat, Mark Finchem is Republican, and right now that's a dead heat, but they're saying Adrian Fontes is probably going to pull that one off. Attorney General, incumbent Mark Bronovich did not run, so you have Abe Hamed versus Chris Mace. And right now it's looking like Abe Hamed, the Republican, is, again, they say that's a dead heat as well, but they're looking like, they said that he's a little bit in the driver's seat right now. We'll see, because that's still not called yet either. And then that's Attorney General. So those are the big ones, guys. So again, I just pulled this one up here. You can see there's Abe and there's Katie for the Attorney General going down the wire. And again, I guess right here, his lead shrank to 130 votes currently. That's it. That's how close it is. So we'll see what happens with that race. Okay. Now let's go back over here. I want to cover these real quick, guys. These are the propositions. These are little things that no one ever talks about, but we're going to go over them really fast. Okay. Here we go. Prop 128. It was rejected. 128 says that okay, this is part. Yeah, that allows the legislature here in Phoenix, or Arizona, to make changes to divert funds from laws passed by voters through ballot initiatives if the Arizona or U.S. Supreme Court finds they contain illegal or unconstitutional language. It was rejected primarily because people felt it gives too much power to lawmakers to override the will of the voters. Okay, 129, it passed. Okay, we'll skip that one. That one's, not. Again, I'm trying to stay on track here, guys. We only have so much time. Don't want to bore you to death. But as a Phoenician, these are important things. And there are some on here I think that are more applicable to the economy and housing, etc. Prop 130, it passed 63%. Asked voters to amend the Arizona Constitution in order to restore property tax exemptions for disabled veterans. Yay! Guys, I'll say I'm a fan for that one, because who would not be a fan of our veterans, right? They protect us, our military. So, they're asking for an exemption on property taxes. They, in my opinion, they deserve it, right? I come from a military family. I myself did not serve, but a lot of my family has. So that I think it's a good thing. Now, from a economic standpoint or housing standpoint, if they don't have property taxes to pay, they now have a higher DTI, debt to income ratio, when they qualify for the VA loan they want to use, or just any of the loan they choose to use when buying a house. So, guys, if you're a veteran, I'm not saying this is the right time to buy for your specific situation right now currently, but this is a very good thing that'll help you qualify for potentially a higher dollar amount or the house that you really want. Prop 131, here we go. This one would amend the state's constitution by creating a position for lieutenant governor. That passed. 132 asks voters if future initiatives or referendums that enact a tax should require a supermajority of at least 60%, and it passed. Okay, so anything we're going to raise a tax or create a tax on the citizens, it has to be voted on by 60% now or more of the citizens to actually have that tax pass. All right, we're going to pause for a second here, guys. We got a couple comments here I'm going to hit. Lori said, would like to hear more about how an average person can buy an investment property. I like that one, Lori. Well, we can definitely go down a rabbit hole, which I won't do for the interest of time. However, the number one thing you can do, and I did an Instagram reel on this, guys. If you follow me at Kelly Cook Homes on Instagram, the number one thing you do, guys, is have a budget or a spending plan. Someone else said, right? It sounds cooler, right? Spending plan. But have a budget, have a spending plan, because at the end of the day, guys, it's still, does what you make matter? Sure, it does, of course. But it's not always what you make, it's what you keep, right? So if you can control the expenses you have personally, you then can siphon off money every month, right, from your income and put it over here in this account or this cookie jar, whatever you want to do, right, until it gets big enough to where you have a down payment now on an investment property. And then when you have a down payment, enough for a down payment for an investment property that fits for the price point and what you qualify for, guess what? Time to go shopping, right? And buy that first rental house. Dive in, jump in, guys. It's awesome. Okay. Abby has a comment too as well. Think about all the jobs coming. Nestle factory, semiconductor plant, and more. Yes, TSMC, guys, Taiwan semiconductor plant. They actually just announced, I think, I'm going to get this number wrong maybe. I read it like last week. I believe they announced they're going to now invest an additional $2 billion into a project here in Phoenix. And that's in addition to their mega billion plant in North Phoenix that has literally like 100 cranes, right? I mean, it is enormous. And again, it'll be the only semiconductor chip plant in the States for TSMC, okay? Because obviously they're located out of Taiwan. So, Abby, I love spending. That's good, guys. So, I love spending. Yeah, me too, actually. All right. So, going back to the props real quick, because these are important, in my opinion. This is what people are voting on in the state of Arizona. Prop 209 would reduce interest rates on medical debt. Okay. Now, that passed resoundingly, 72%. So, now what that could mean from a housing standpoint is a lot of times people can't qualify for a loan, guys. I don't want to say the number one reason is, but it could be that people cannot qualify is because they have medical debt, and the underwriter counts that against their debt, and so they can't qualify for as high of a loan amount that they would like to qualify for. So that being said, I would definitely, I guess that's probably a good thing, especially when it comes to housing and people having the ability to qualify for a mortgage, because maybe the debt won't be so burdensome for them when they go to the hospital. Okay. Prop 211, dark money. That passed. That's probably a good thing, right? As to people have to disclose, who they are when they're spending a bunch of money for politicians. Prop 308 would allow Arizona high school graduates to receive in-state tuition and financial aid at public universities and colleges, regardless of their immigration status. That passed. It really passed. So now I guess in Arizona, at least for the time being, if you graduate high school, you will get the ability to have in-state tuition, whether you are a U.S. citizen or not. Prop 309 require voters to include their birth date and government issue identification number with early ballots and make photo ID a requirement of in-person voting. And that was rejected by 0.4% by Arizonans. Okay. Prop 310 says we would create a 0.1 statewide sales tax. They love the tax, right? People love the tax. And then, guys, you have to have some taxes, right? Because that's how you have fire, that's how you have police, that's how you have awesome teachers and a lot of benefits, right? But there's always something else we're trying to put on here, it looks like. And this one's for funding for fire districts, for state fire districts. That one actually did not pass. It got rejected for 51.8%. Okay. Those are the propositions, guys, that were on the ballot for the midterms in 2022. Okay. So what do you guys think about that? Comment below or comment right now. We're live. But if you watch this after the live, comment below and let us know what you think about some of these props and Kari Lake and Kitty Hobbs and all these other politicians and what it means for Arizona. I would love to hear your take. And everyone else who comments on this stuff and watches this video would probably benefit from hearing your opinion as well, whether they agree or disagree. But that's what America's all about, right? Coming together and trying to find common ground with solutions. At least it always has been in the past, right? So here we go, guys. Now we're going to pivot, okay? That's the political landscape here in Arizona, what it means potentially for Phoenicians in terms of housing and economy and jobs, things of that nature. But let's pivot, okay? I'm going to share my screen here, guys. Let's go over to who is the empire, okay? But before we get to that, one more quick slide I'm going to show you guys. Sharp drop in mortgage rates does little to boost demand. Now, this is a national article. Arizona, fairly similar to this. It didn't have a huge spike in demand for a week, but we all know the news came out. The CPI came in lower than expected. The CPI actually, Consumer Price Inflation Index, actually went up a little bit, but it went up lower than what was anticipated or forecasted. So everyone got giddy. And guess what happened to the 10-year treasury as well as mortgage rates? They had a little mini break and dip, which is awesome. Look at this graph here. Here we go, right? So it actually went down a little bit right there. You can see it. This was last week. Now, since then, they've kind of like started to tilt back up a little bit, right? But they had this little drop for a period of time. So if you were searching for a home and you were kind of on that bandwagon or that fence last week, that was a good time to lock. Relatively speaking. Obviously, 9 months ago would have been a great time to lock, but in this economy, in this day and age, that would have been a good time to lock. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. Now, let's jump over here to our Star Wars analogy here, right? The Empire strikes back on lower mortgage rates, right? Sounds so great, right? It gets your attention if you're a Star Wars fan, it does at least, right? And guys, so who's the Empire? The Federal Reserve. You probably guessed that one, right? But the Empire struck back. And here's what this goes on to say, which is quite interesting. It piggybacks on what we just talked about with rates dipping, because you can see rates, the 10-year Treasury bond obviously dipped here. But you can see what it says here, and which is awesome. I'll read a little statement here. Okay. Well, it didn't take long. On Sunday, Federal Reserve governor, they have a chairman and a governor and all kinds of stuff, right? By the way, if you guys are bored, you should Google what the payroll is, the total payroll for the Federal Reserve. It'll make you a little upset, right? It's a lot, like in the billions, I believe. Christopher Waller made comments at an economic conference in Australia that made their position clear. And that is, this is the second time in a year that the Fed Empire has struck back after mortgage rates made a move lower. Currently, the 10-year yield has made a reversal and is already heading higher up towards that 3.9%. I'm talking federal funds rate, not mortgage rates, okay, for that number, okay? But here's what he tweeted. The market seems to get way out in front. I just cannot stress this is one data point. We still got a long ways to go, right? End quote. Way out in front, right? So he is telling people that after it dipped, the Federal Reserve said, whoa, hold on. No. We need to come back out with some words because, guys, obviously they only meet, once every month or so. So they need to come out with words and say something, because when they speak, the markets move. So they wanted to speak right away, and they just subtly kind of said, but very clear, the market's gotten way out in front here a little bit. We still have a long ways to go. Meaning what, guys? They're going to continue to raise rates, okay? At least in the short term, right? And everyone kind of knows December is a 75 basis point, but a lot of people are saying 50 basis point hike now in December, so which would be great as opposed to 75 basis points. But we'll see what happens here, okay? Point is, the Empire said, no, we're in control. Not you guys, not the marketplace here. We're in control. We're going to go ahead and speak and make sure you guys understand our position. And our position is we're going to continue raising rates because we want companies to lose jobs. We want companies to pull back on spending. We want consumers to pull back on spending. That's what they want, and it is working, obviously, right? They're methodically working through that concept. So, what do you guys think about the Fed? What do you think about the Fed? By the way, there's this great book out there. If you ever read it, it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Okay. I'm not going to give you any more. Just read it. It's interesting, to say the least. Okay. But basically, this is saying that rates will continue to go back up, and that at this point, having that little dip was very temporary. Okay. But guys, if you're looking for a house, you can keep playing that dip, right? Maybe that dip will happen again in December sometime. Who knows, right? Who knows at the end of the day? Okay. All right. Good question. Abby asks, what happens if they take rates too far? Good question, Abby. In that situation, if they do, that's called an overcorrection. And by the way, when has the Fed ever over or under corrected anything? Quite often, right? So this soft landing is like this thing that really never happens, right? So that being said, if they overcorrect it, then I could see them starting to either do one of two things. They have two big levers, right? Interest rates and mortgage-backed securities, or i.e. printing money, quantitative easing. It's all the same thing. That being said, they could start doing one of those two things right away. And if they start dropping rates at some point in 2023, because maybe they overcorrect this thing because the economy just kind of stalls out way too fast here, which is a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. Then rates will come down, most likely, at some point. Now, how fast and how low, who knows? But when that happens, there's a lot of pent-up demand out there, especially in Phoenix, guys. I know that to be true. And so when that happens, we'll see. Maybe we'll see more of a balanced market. Nobody wants this big 25% of appreciation a year. Nobody really wants that. It's not sustainable. I don't care where you're at, but it would be nice to have a nice 3 to 5% appreciation every year and have some buyers buying and some sellers selling, and everyone's just kind of a little happy about it, right? All right. So now, real quick, guys, it wouldn't be a YouTube live. We didn't just give you a little taste of what the market's doing right now. So let's jump back over here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And let's just jump over back to our handy dandy Cromford report. Okay. Now here's the overall daily market snapshot of the entire Maricopa County area. Okay. You can see active listings actually went down. Now that's kind of what it does towards the end of the year, right? Less people put their house on the market, which, by the way, if you're ready to put it on the market in certain areas of the valley, you would do yourself a favor if you had it on the market, because actually pending listings go up. Like Scottsdale is one of those areas that usually happens, right? Because it's seasonal, snowbird's coming down. If you're in Queen Creek, you probably would want to wait till January, right? And right out the holidays, because typically demand overall, Maricopa County, big area, greater Phoenix area, does start to subside as we head down towards December 31st. Okay. So that being said, hey, Tom, thanks for commenting. Great content. Hey, I appreciate that. We do our best, spend a lot of time researching to make sure we bring some value, some content to you for this 30 minutes or so. Okay. And so we're going to jump back over here, Tom. All right. So here's the Cromford report. You can see active listings are down a little bit, like we talked about, kind of normal, but I want to focus on one thing here. Okay. And, or a couple things here. Lender own, okay, at the very bottom here, and pre-foreclosure active, and sales. Guys, look at overall the lender owned and pre-foreclosure properties, distressed homes. They're just not there, guys. Look at the numbers are so incredibly tiny. They're just not there. So this wave of foreclosures in Phoenix, I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It could happen, but not anytime soon. So just don't buy into the hype. Now, in maybe, I don't know, Bismarck, North Dakota, I don't know, Bismarck, maybe there, it's happening for in terms of foreclosures, distressed sales. I have no idea. But in Phoenix, in the short term, not going to happen. So that's one graph to look at. I'm going to show you that median monthly sales price. We're going to go through these pretty quick here, guys. It is dipped, as you can see. There's no secret there. It's now down to 430 off its high at 480 in May of 2022. Okay. Let's jump over here to the average cumulative days on market for closed listings. No secret here, guys. Look at it was, by the way, they're at right now 60 days on market, 61 if you round up. Okay. For the average home to sell once it goes on market, 2 months. 2 months still is not bad, guys. Not bad at all. In fact, you go back to 2019, which no one would say 2019 was a bad market in Phoenix, or 18, or really 17 for that matter. And all those years are on this graph. Okay. Look at this. The high point 2019, 69 days on market. The high point of 2018, 71 days on market. The high point of 2017, 78 days on market, guys. And right now we are again at 61 days on market. Okay. Now it's increasing, but guys, also I want to show you something here. Look at the seasonal trend here, days on market. The quarter one had the highest, right? The highest days on market for 17, 18, 19, and 20. 21 is kind of an anomaly, but it still did, right? Same trend did apply. But guys, here's why I bring that up. If you're looking to sell, you may want to call your favorite Cook and Associates real estate advisor, right? And have a conversation. We'll break it down per zip code for you, for your specific area. Because this trend very well right here could continue. And if you're going to put your home on the market in January, look at the trend, guys. The highest days on market are always the quarter one of each year in the Phoenix natural market. So just food for thought, okay? Because it's going to probably get a little bit longer, or even go longer to sell a home as we proceed through January and into February. All right, so annual appreciation. This is interesting. I got Buckeye pulled up, guys. Buckeye is a suburb on the outskirts of the valley. A lot of new construction, okay? A lot of tract homes, more affordable housing, for the most part. Look at the appreciation. I thought this is kind of cool graph. The depreciation in 2009, negative 41%. The appreciation that it went to is 28 and 13, and then here we go, 33. So guys, is it possible, look at the appreciation here to here, okay? Is it possible that as this decreases like it did in 2014, 2015, it then goes into a balanced market for the next 4 to 5 years? That's very possible in Phoenix because the fundamentals aren't there to create what happened in 2008, 2009. They're just not, okay? And supply and demand and population influx and outflux and a myriad of things. Now let's go to I don't know, Fountain Hills. Okay. Fountain Hills is more of a more upscale community, right? And you see right here, it lost 27%. Okay. Then it rebounded nicely at 16% off the high. And then it shot up here to 23, 26%. And then it's going to start obviously coming down. Now, Fountain Hills is actually the one anomaly, guys, because if you jump over here, where's my graph? Okay. Right here. Look at Fountain Hills for the CMI, guys. Now, you know our CMI. We're big on the CMI, Cromford Market Index. Below 90 on the scale is a buyer's market. Above 110 on the scale is a seller's market. Between 90 and 110, balanced market. So Phoenix overall, it just now entered a buyer's market officially, guys. Look at that. And this is pulled just 30 minutes ago or so. Okay. If you go to Fountain Hills, look at that, guys. In Fountain Hills, you're probably scratching your head going, what in the world? It's a seller's market? It is. Look at that. It's a 148 per the data in Fountain Hills. That's the best performing market we have right now in terms of a suburb in the greater Phoenix area. Go to Scottsdale, 121, still a seller's market overall. Okay. Now let's go to the East Valley. All right. Let's go down to Gilbert, buyer's market 75. Chandler, buyer's market 85, a little bit better in Chandler. Okay. And now let's go to the West Valley. Let's go to Peoria. Peoria is at a 74. Okay. And let's go to Glendale. You're at 84. Okay. So very similar in many ways to the East Valley cities, right? To an extent. Let's go to the Southwest Valley. Let's go to Goodyear. Okay. Goodyear is at 77. Avondale at 67. Okay. And then Buckeye, we saw that was not doing so hot at 48. Right. So again, the Southwest Valley buyer's market looking to buy an investment property. That's where you want to go, or a house for your own. That's where you may want to go. If you're open to any area across the valley, you're going to get the best deal overall. Right. But again, some supply and demand, right? That makes the balanced market or a buyer's or seller's market. So this is very, very interesting, and we track it weekly. And that's why I appreciate you showing up weekly, because you're going to get the good information and right from the source here, guys. Last but not least, I want to leave you with the Cromford Report commentary. This is interesting. Okay. So I highlighted this here. This is November 15th. Today is the 17th. We're 2 days off of this. This is a mid-month pricing update and forecast. On November 15th, pending listings for all areas and types shown an average list per square foot price of $305. Okay. Down only 0.4% from the reading of October 15th, month over month. Okay. Down less than 0.5%. Among those pending listings, we have a 99.4% normal, and then the rest are, itty bitty REO and itty bitty pre-foreclosure. So less than 1%, right? 0.6% of all properties pending are distressed sales. It remains insignificant, right? Okay, our midpoint forecast for the average monthly sales for December, okay, now they're predicting for next month, okay, so here we go, crystal ball time, right, is $273, okay, which is 0.4% below the November 15th reading. We have a 90% confidence that it will fall within 2% plus or minus of margin of error of this midpoint, okay, so it will be within the range of 268 to 279. This means we are expecting a small decline in average sales price per square foot over the next month. The downward pricing trend appears to be persistent, but not very strong. So we could sit here and go, okay, thanks, Captain Obvious, right? But the reality is we're still kind of guessing because we just have this feel for it as people in the marketplace. But if you look at the data, this is the person saying from the data that, guess what? We're going to probably have a small decline, this deceleration still happening as we go towards the end of this year, but it's going to be not very strong, minimal decline. So what that means for you is that, guys, I just really believe right now, if you're looking to buy, holy cow, and we're seeing it with some of our clients, it could be a very advantageous time for you if very important, you can qualify and make the payment based on 2 days rates. All the buy down stuff is great, okay, and we can do that, and we can structure it and get creative and get the seller to pay for it for you in most cases. However, at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. And so the prudent thing to do is make sure you qualify for the monthly payment as to where rates are today, because that is your only certainty that you have in terms of locking that in for 30 years or 15 years or whatever you want to do. Guys, I really, really appreciate your participation today. And we have one more comment. What's Abby? Hey, Abby, what's going on? I like all the questions. Would you recommend going after new builds or an iBuyer property? Who would give me a better deal? All right. Great question. That's going to be case specific per the area of the valley. However, I would tell you this. I'm going to do a video on iBuyers here shortly. It's going to come out next week. And I'm going to break down some of the price reductions and the final sales prices that these properties that were either owned by iBuyers or they were owned or new builds, right? What the final sales prices were that they sold for. And right now with iBuyers, especially Open Door and Redfin, you can get a phenomenal deal. I mean, you really, really, truly can. They are, I mean, Robert, was it Refkin, I believe, the CEO of Redfin, I think that's his name. He just came out and publicly stated, I read an article a couple days ago, that they have a duty to their investors, right, to ensure that they do the right thing in terms of the stock price and the fundamentals of their balance sheet, which means unloading these properties. So that means they will be selling the properties at the best price they can, of course, but it's not going to be, there's no emotion tied to it. It's reduce, sell. Okay. On the buy side of the new builds, they are doing everything they can using the buy downs right now. So again, it goes back to making sure you can afford that interest rate that you qualify today for the next 30 years, let's say. However, you will get a buy down paid for by the builder. Like if your agent doesn't do that for you, please look elsewhere, right? Because your agent should be able, whoever you guys use, should be able to at least do that, if not more. Meaning, if you're at a 8% rate today for the next 30 years that you qualify for, okay, they will pay for a buy down even as much as a 3-2-1 buy down. Meaning in year 1, you're down at 5% on your payment. Year 2, 6%. In year 3, 7% before it goes back in year 4 to 8% for the next 26 years. Okay. And you can always refi if you have the ability to refi, if rates are down lower before then. And of course, you have equity in your house. 2 very important things that have to happen in order for that to occur, right? Okay, so great question, guys. Any more questions? You can always find me on Instagram at Kelly Cook Homes. DM me, no problem. TikTok at I think TikTok is Everything Phoenix, PHX. And guys, I really appreciate the participation. Comment below if you watch this after the fact and let us know what you think of the politics of Arizona, but please be courteous, right? And, the market update and Empire. Who thought the Fed was the Empire? Darth Vader is coming out. Is Darth Vader Jerome Powell, or is it the chairman that we just talked about, or the executive governor, whatever his name is, right? I don't know. Let me know what you think, right? Or maybe he's just a stormtrooper. I don't know. So, guys, I appreciate you, and please give us a call at 480-660-5974 with any questions you ever have, or email info@cookandassociatesaz.com. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.